Hello and welcome back to Anatomy of CAD Design. I'm going to do a tutorial of a signet ring. I did one recently, but I wanted to go ahead and repeat it because I have finally figured out how to get the quality of my videos uploaded to YouTube. All right, so I pulled in a ring rail and I changed to size 9 by going over to the dynamic commands and changing the size. And I am going to pull in the outside ring rail by right clicking on the ring rail in the quick commands. And we are going to make it 220 on the sides and just pull it up a little bit on the top. I am going to be doing a little bit different shape than I did last time. So I've got the curve menu up and let's see what we've got here. Why don't we do an oval? All right, so start the oval. Let's see, if you look in your front view, as I do this, you can kind of see how wide it is. So I am going to go ahead and stop there, put this on white by clicking on the little triangle in front of it, and I'm just pulling this up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go back down to about 6 millimeters above the finger rail. Nothing magic about that. It's just kind of where I like to be for signet rings unless I'm doing something really massive. Okay, so the first thing I do is I go to the solid menu and I find extrude planar curve. I want to make sure on my command line that it is both sides no. I just want to do one side, so I'm going to bring it down a little past halfway. And then I am going to go ahead, turn this to a green or whatever color, just so that I recognize that I'm not actually going to be using that right now. It's going to be more of a guide. I'm typing in cage edit, bounding box, world, and for the X plane, I am going to do, let's do 8. And then for the Y, I'm going to do 6. And for the Z, I'm also going to do 6. This gives me a certain number of control points on each plane. I'm going to take the bottom portion, I'm going to leave the top 2 right now as is. We are going to select those and go up to transform, scale 1D. I want to go ahead and select F4 because that is the center of your CAD universe. There we go. And what I am doing here is I am trying to get the surface as close to my guideline as possible. And it's a little bit fiddly, but you just do the best you can. I think the most important part is down here. As you come up here, then you just focus on what shape you would like. And here's where I go to the second one down and just make that work a little bit better. All right, that looks like a good shape, almost. There we go. Now at this point, if you feel like you've made this maybe a little too large, which I'm kind of debating, I'm going to go ahead and take the top 2 rows, hit scale 2D, F4 from your top viewport, and just bring it in a little bit. And then also the top row, just bring it in a little bit. Now I still really like this from the through finger view. I think that looks good. That's the shape of it. But now we need to adjust the side. So I am going to take everything but the top 2 rows, go up to my transform menu scale and 1D scale, F4. And I'm going to bring that in. Now I'm going to just select the bottom 3 and bring that in and take a look at that and see what I think. I think I will adjust that second row ever so slightly. And some of this just takes practice. That's all it is. If you don't get the desired effect that you want, you just need to play and you just need to practice and you just need to try different things and not worry about messing up. That is the best advice I can give you. All right, so let's look at this here. I think I want to make that, I usually do this where I take the center ones, go ahead and scale 1D again, being careful not to overlap. So you want to bring those out but not overlap your outside little control points. And on this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and gather up 1 row longer. And I'm going to pull that out a little bit. Now you can see what happened here. Let me just go back and then go forward so that you can see that's going to give the shank a little bit meatier shank. It's going to be a little bit nicer shape and not so pointy, because we were not going for a knife edge on this one. Okay, now we're to the point where I just take this, duplicate it, and bring it down a little bit. I'm going to turn this orange because it's going to be my cutter, and for now I'm going to turn that off. And next we are going to go up to cutters, the cutter menu, cut to ring rail. It says in our command line, select surfaces. I'm going to select that surface, press enter when done. And it doesn't like me today. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Okay, let's see. It took forever. Sometimes that happens. All right, so now I've got a shape that's slightly cut off. You'll notice that it's got a little, curve there, kind of like flared jeans, okay? But don't worry about that. We're going to cut this off just below the halfway point. Before I do that though, I really want to take this solid, right click on hide so that it's the only thing in your viewport, and we are going to go to the solid menu, fillet edge, and I want to put kind of a heavy fillet on this, so let's try 0.8. Type that in, select, and then press enter twice. See, that's nice. Now, one thing that you will notice when you put a heavy fillet on, it makes the shank quite a bit narrower. So we lost probably almost 1 millimeter. All right, so let's do that again. I'm going to right click to activate the last command. There we go. Very nice. Let's take a look at that shape. I think it's good. I'm going to turn that on machine. So there we go. So I can see it without all the lines. Sometimes it's distracting. And it looks to me like it could use a little bit of help. I'm going to cage edit this just ever so slightly. Cage edit is a powerful tool. And I remember when I was learning Matrix, I don't know why I was so intimidated by cage edit, but I was. And it took me a while to kind of embrace it and go, okay, I just need to learn this. I need to get over myself. And when I did, it made my CAD design journey a lot easier. All right, so now I have smoothed that out a little bit, and now I'm happy with that. So now we can go to the curve menu, select line, F4, and just go somewhere right below halfway point. I'm going to mirror that, hit F4 and shift, select your solid, go to split, select your lines to split, and you can pause this video at any time, go back. I know some of my commands I'm going a little bit fast, but you know, you can watch this as many times as you need to. Okay, so I'm going to select that, and I am going to dupe border. There we go. And when you are in machine mode, you cannot see the curves. There is a way to adjust that, but you can just go to the plastic mode and you're able to see, or wireframe, or ghosted. So some of the views, some of the, what do we want to call those? Like shaded, rendered, ghosted, x-ray. Some of those will allow you to see curves, and others are set up so that you cannot see the curve. You can change all that, and I'm not going to get into that today, but it can be changed if you have a preference one way or the other. Okay, so look at that. We have the top of the shank, very nice shape, and then we have the bottom that needs to be made. So I select both of these curves, go to surface, sweep to, select my first curve and my second curve. Did it select that? I think it did. Oh, no. Okay, do it again. There we go. Select profiles, there we go, and there we go. You really have to pay attention to the command line. Okay, so I made a mistake here, and I did not click off the toggle in the dynamic box, dynamic command box. So I'm going to select that and go over here to sweep to edit, and I'm going to click that off so that there is no cap, because I do not want a cap on that, because this has no cap and this has no cap. So now I can select those two and join them using the quick command. Okay, very nice. That's looking very good. Let's see what it looks like in render view. I'm going to turn those off, and I am going to select my dark green, and I'm going to turn it the lighter green so I can see what it looks like. Very nice. Okay. Oh, I want to bring that orange in, and if you recall, we copied the top. Now I didn't have this selected yet, so let's cage edit the side view of the cutter. Okay, so I select it and I just transform it like we did on the original. We just want to bring that in. Okay, you don't want a super thin border on this, so you just want to do it. I like to have like a millimeter. I kind of go by sight because I've been doing it for a while, but it's always good practice to measure. That's a little more than a millimeter, probably 1.3, I don't know. Let's see. Dimension. Oh, 1.7. 1.3. Okay, so in some places it's a little heavier. That's fine. Let's see if I can maybe bring this down a little. There we go. Hopefully that didn't mess it up too much on this side. So you constantly want to be looking back and forth and now we need to adjust this one. So we are going to go back to transform, scale, 1D. There we go. And then I bring the bottom in so that it is not touching at all, about halfway. So see how nice the cutout's going to be? It's going to just kind of flow right off of there. Okay. I can delete my control box, and let's go ahead and full save this. Sometimes what I'll do too is I will save my shank and ring in the job bag and the cutter separately, just in case something weird happens. You never know. All right, Boolean difference, select my first surface, select my second surface, and there we go. Turn off the orange cutter, and the original layer is still there. If I go into shaded mode, you can see I select that and I turn it on a layer that I just keep off just for that purpose. And then I take a look at it to make sure there's nothing weird going on. It looks really good. And if I'm in a crazy mood, I will go ahead and try to fillet the edges on this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, especially when you get down to this little area. So let's give it a whirl, see if it happens. Very nice, it did. It worked out just fine. So I like to make my rings pretty on the inside and outside and all the way around. It's very nice. Very, very good. Okay. I'm also going to show you guys something that I like to do underneath here is I like to put like an under gallery. And so let's go ahead and do a little bit more with this ring. I can show you some of my other little tricks I do. So here's the ring rail, and I am going to measure that. The length is 59.635. I go to my curve menu, I go to line, and I just do the regular line, click in the viewport, and type in 59.635. There we go. Now this line I would prefer if it was centered. So you can do that a couple different ways. I go up to transform and center objects and press enter, and it centers it. And then I like to have it on a line, so I put my grid snaps on and it snaps to my grid. Turn them off because I don't need it anymore. And then what I do is I go to excuse me, I'm going to turn this to rust, same color as the ring rail. All right, now what I want to do is I want to get some lines off of here so that I have a guide. So I am going to dupe edge. And when you dupe the edge, you have to select on each edge that you want to dupe. And I click enter, and it's still highlighted. I click join. And you'll know it joined because that annoying little box will pop up. Okay. Okay, now I am going to do something that you're probably not going to understand right away, but curve seam. I am going to move the curve seam so that when I flow, which is what we are going to do today, it will make sense. So now my seam is down here and my seam is represented on the flat line here, so that this is my middle right here on the line, and this is my middle. And so when I design something, I'm going to design it right around here. So let me show you. We are going to go and select that curve, and I am going to type in flow. It's very important when we do this to select it in the same position. So I am on the right side of the curve close to the middle, and my target curve, pay attention to your command line, I'm going to click right here. And look at that. So most of the time when people flow, they're going to flow from the flat up into a curved surface. But you can also flow the other direction. So you can flow from your curved surface onto your flat. And as long as the length of the curve is the same, you will have an accurate design. So now I get to play and decide what I'm going to do with this design. And sometimes I just play, I don't know, I don't always have anything in mind, and I will just do like a curve and I'll offset it, and usually by like 0.8 is a nice offset if you want a substantial curve. All right, and then I just kind of play around and I'll mirror it, and then you want your center to be somewhere on that line. This can be F4 for your center. That's kind of nice. You can leave this open down here because it's not a very deep one. And then perhaps we will duplicate this. And maybe we'll just rotate this so that it's straight. Okay. Now I can move it by selecting move, clicking, make sure my O snaps are on, and get the midpoint. And that way I know that the design is accurate. I'm going to mirror that, toggle my O snaps on, and there we go. That's kind of a nice design. What would happen if we move this out a little bit? Okay, not crazy about that. What would happen if we did this? Nope, don't like that. Okay, let's see. I think I liked it, the first one the best. So let's go ahead, and I am going to offset this just a little bit so that I don't have any problems when I flow it up. Okay, so that I'm going to just put on another layer, and all of these should probably be on a different layer anyway. Okay, and then I want to click on a different color because I am going to do curve bullion, and I'm going to select all of these, go to my curve edit menu. Unless you've moved it, it's all the way down. Curve bullion. There we go. I've already selected them all, and so it's allowing me to continue. It asks me to click the insides of the regions. Be sure and get all of them, even the little tiny bits. And when we are done doing this, I don't know if you saw that, but I accidentally clicked in here. So you just click again and it toggles it off. You just want to kind of look at all those little places, but also give an overall view. And when you are done, you can click enter and turn off the original color. And this is what you are left with. You're left with this. All right, so now what I want to do is I am going to make it a solid, and let's go ahead and change my color to the lightest green. All right, that can be my current color. Make a solid by clicking on extrude planar curve, Let's just go straight, and we are going to go up because the curve that I measured is your ring rail. So it needs to go up from the ring rail. And I eyeball this. I want to be about 0.8. So there we go. And this is what it looks like in the solid. For this, I'm going to turn off my ring just so you can see. And I'm going to also turn that off. So this is what we have. I don't need the purple curve on. I have this solid. I have my curve, my ring rail, and I also have the coordinating curve that is the same length. So this can be a little tricky, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So let's find out if it's gonna go right. I type in flow, I click on that, and then you don't want to click too close to the end, but just click kind of close and kind of close. And there we go. That's exactly how it should work. All right. Now, if it didn't work that way for you, be sure and look at the command line. Also check your curve seam. You can do that by typing in curve seam. See where your curve seam is at. It should be down here. It's usually up here. You want to move it and make sure it's facing this direction. If it's facing the other direction, then you want to click on it this way and it will highlight that. Okay. All right, let's take a look and see. I am going to turn all of these a different color, turn them off, and we are going to turn our ring back on and see what has happened. All right, look at that. Turn off my ring rail, and there we go. It's going to be more comfortable on the finger. Let's go ahead and let's see what color. That was white, I think. Okay, let's offset that. And let's offset that by 2 millimeters, which is a lot, but that's okay. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and make a solid, extrude planar curve. I want to do both sides on this one. So I am going to come down about that far because I want to leave enough between there so that casting will go well. All right, and now I'm going to use this as a cutter. So let's go ahead, go to solid menu, Boolean difference, select this as our first, and then this is our second. There we go. And we need to turn that a different color. I don't delete them. And I don't delete them because sometimes you need them. And that's old school matrix for you. Because sometimes job bags used to fail us miserably. So we are used to saving, saving, saving. All right, so that's what we have so far. And just for the sake of this, I am going to duplicate my pattern here. And let's go ahead and shrink that up a little bit. Scale that. All right, it might have been too much. Probably was. We will see. I just want to show you what it looks like then if you put like a pattern on the inside as well. Make sure that you don't do this and have like an empty gap under there. You want to bring that down and make sure it overlaps a little bit. And there we go. I can center this by just looking at it. Okay. And I did go way too far, so let's make it a little bigger. 2D scale. All right. And if I 1D scale, we will just bring it back this way. Okay, there we go. Oops, I need to change that color to one of my greens. turn off the blue. All right, there we go. Very good. I guess we can 1D scale just a little bit more. And I don't know if you guys know this, but you can model in 3D. So I F4, center of my universe, and if I hold down Shift, I think I have to do this again. Hold on. Hold down Shift. There we go. Very nice. All right, so one of the things with render is that it's kind of hard to see the detail unless you fillet your edges. And you know, I work in a jewelry store, and so we have to show our clients like what it's going to look like in the finished product. So I fillet my edges and soften them all the time. So you go to fillet, and then like I'll do 0.3 here. Yes, thank you. All right, and 0.3 here. Let's go ahead and do the same. And you can see the difference. See what a difference that makes? And now if I want to fillet this, I will usually hide everything else because this is going to be a little bit tricky. It may or may not like what I do. So in filleting, the top only, right? Now you could fillet these edges too, but I think I'm just going to do the top to keep that sharp. You don't want to fillet the bottom because it's too close to the bottom of the cutout. So fillet edge, and just so you can see what I'm doing, I'll have this here. All right, edges to fillet. First, I want to type in 0.1 because 0.3 is too much. And if you go from the left, it'll only select what you have gone over. Okay, and this is what happens when it does not like what you've typed in. Oh, I know, one of the things that I probably should have done. Let's go ahead and try that one more time. 0.1 is the last thing I did, so it's going to be 0.1. I do not need these ends to be filleted. And I don't know if that'll make a difference. It may or may not. It did not. So this process can take a little bit of time. And so I'm going to do 0.05, and I'm just going to do a couple of them to see what happens. Sometimes you will find out that, you know, perhaps this is way too tight. And if one of them doesn't work, none of them will work. So that doesn't work. So when that happens, I also do the little vertical corner. That one's fine. It's this one that's so tight. And sometimes it works. Okay, see, now that worked. And it's nice to have your edges a little softened, especially for casting. It just makes all of the difference in the world in some situations. It just lets the metal flow a little bit easier. Plus, if you do it, your clients are going to be so much happier because they're going to be able to see a beautiful piece. And they're not going to believe it's a render. All right, so this probably is a problem child too. So hopefully it will work. It did. And that's how we fix that. Filleting is the vein of my existence some days. And I have spent countless hours making sure that I can get a softer edge so that the client can see the render. But it's worth it in the end. Totally worth it. Okay, we're almost there, folks. There we go. I know those are not problems, so there we go. Very nice. And that is my signet ring with a matching undergallery. What do you all think? Do you like it? Give me a like if you like this ring. All right. Well, that's it for today. And thanks for watching, and you're welcome.